Nobody around as yet? Okay, I see somebody else joining in. Who is that? All right, hi Aniket. I think it's only the two of you. I'll start off if some more people join in. Otherwise, the whole. Oh, so I see 5 of them have joined in. So maybe I can start. Like you all know, I'm Sujit Banerjee. Can you hear me? Anybody who can just post a message saying that you can hear me? Can you hear me? Somebody just post a message, please. Can somebody post a message? Oh, wow. Thanks, Meeta. Okay, so I had picked up this subject called complexity of the human mind, and I'm going to talk about it in context of storytelling, because I am here at the behest of Authors Inc., and they are into publishing, and I think it's only fair. So for me, when I start writing, or I assume it's true for everybody, is to have first a story idea. And once you get the idea, you start the second step, which is putting in the characters in place. And once you have put in the characters in place, then you have to, guys, somebody is sending me WhatsApp messages who I think here, but I can't open that right now. So as I was saying, that you have to flesh out the characters. Now, while fleshing out the characters, one of the most important thing for me is to ensure that each character's frame of mind is defined very well, or the emotional quotient is defined very well. Because if you have a character and you have not delved into the emotional depth of that character, it comes out flat. My book, which is Rukhsat The Departure, deals with 26 short stories, each with one alphabet. It's like A for Abhimanyu, B for Bhushan, C for Chitra, so on and so forth. And each of the story deals with different kinds of emotion. Now, if you look at the brilliant authors that we have, I mean, let's take a look at Gulzar Sahab, or Kamleshwarji, or Manto Sahab, Prem Chand, Ismat Chugtai, O. Henry, for example. The stories were short, simple, but the depth of emotion in the characters that they etched out was very, very clear, was very well defined, and it connected with you. The story could be as simple as, let me read out something to you so that I can explain it better. So this is something I had written for a A to Z challenge last year. Widowed at the age of 14 and left in the company of widows, she spent her life wearing white. Her only companion was the flowing water of Ganges. At 60, she inherited the house of her parents. She moved in with a small bag. Inside the cupboards, she found clothes in all possible colors and hues. She gave them all away. Accidentally one day, she walked into a tattoo parlor. An hour later, she walked out, proud and elegant in her walk. Grey hair, snow white sari, and a blazing red bindi permanently tattooed on her forehead. It's a very, very short story, but in my mind, this is a true story, by the way. It actually happened, and in my mind, I thought it was absolutely brilliant, because at the age of 60, she told the world what has been going on in her head for those many years. Now, so we have the broad storyline, we have the fleshed out characters with their emotional quotients weaved in. We have examples that we can read and understand these authors, and then form our own sketchboard in which you weave in all these things. Now, once that is done, and you think that the product is really very good, your story is very good, and it needs to be published, it will be a huge mistake if you just go to a publisher and ask them to publish it, because that is just half the work done. I think in any decent book, the major work is done by the editing team of the publisher and the proofreading done by the company. Without these two things, it will be impossible actually to come out with a very good story, with a very good review. For my book, I had a review from a reader in US who rated the story as 3, and she just tore this book apart because of the errors in editing and proofreading. Unfortunately, the earlier publisher, I think, missed out, or I missed out, somebody missed out. And thankfully this time, Authors Inc. is correcting all those things. Now, apart from that, I was listening to Indranil Roy yesterday, and he was talking about that there are stories everywhere. And I totally agreed with him. I was taken aback because it was my language that he was using. And let's say the maid who comes to our house to work for us, and she has a story. She has many stories. The guy who comes to pick up the trash, I'm sure he has stories. The gardener who comes over here, I know he has stories. In my office, my team, I know they have stories. To give you an example, one of the most difficult things when you're writing is that you have created the character, but to make that character successful, you have to get under the skin of the character. So there are 2 very difficult stories in my book, which I'm going to talk about because of the emotional quotient itself and the complexity. One is based on triple talaq, and what happens after a triple talaq is given if the husband wants the wife back. That was one. And the second one was about a woman who is unable to conceive her own child, and how that slowly pushes her off the edge. Now, here are 2 stories. I'm a man. I have this story. Both of them are true. I have met one, and the other one I have met only once. The first one I know very well. The other one I have met only once or twice, but I heard her story. And not through her, through somebody else. Now, for me to get into this character, which is a character of a woman who is unable to have a child, and every time she conceives, she actually aborts, or the other woman who has to now marry another man, consummate the marriage, get a divorce, and get back to her first husband. I think these are the 2 key things where I had to get into the character to understand and feel exactly what they are feeling to be able to write. Whether I was successful or not, I do not know. I'm not too sure. It's only people who have given me feedback, have told me whatever they have told me. And I think that's where I will sort of sum it up by saying that anybody who wants to write, or as an author, what is the most important thing that I've discovered are these things: the complexity of the psyche, or the psyche of the human mind. And hopefully in my next book I'll be able to do it better than the first one. So that's about it. And if anybody wants to anybody has any questions, please go ahead and ask. And if there are no questions, then I'm going to wrap it up earlier than the 20 minutes allotted to me. Any questions from anybody? So I'll wait for another couple of minutes. No, I don't think we have 8 people over here, but there are no messages coming in, which means either I have been brilliant or I have miserably failed. Hi Mita. Okay, well, I think I am about more than 2/3 away from the whole story, and I'm moving quite fast on that one. So I think by end of this year, it should be out. Since nobody's asking any question, then might as well address to you, Mita, that this is a story of the Hi Bidushi, I'll just come to that because that's exactly what I have been going through. So the next book is about the 1857 revolt against the British, and in that mutiny, the love story of a courtesan. She was known as Pannabai. Her love story set against the background of the revolt. Hi Bidushi. Now you said, how do I deal with a writer's block? I don't. To be very honest, I don't. This book I'm talking about, which is about the 1857 revolt, I started it about a year and a half back. Till about a month back, again I'm using the word twice, I had finished only 5 chapters. And suddenly in this last 1 month, I have added more than, I think, 15. So when it comes, actually you should let it go. You should not try to, a lot of people say that you should make it a plan and you should sit down at a certain hour and make sure that you've written something. I tried that, it didn't work with me. So I had to just leave it. I had to just leave it and wait for the wave to come back. The urge comes back. Sometimes it comes back in a week, sometimes in a month, sometimes, like me, it took me 2 years to finish my first book. I have lost 2 audience already, from 8 to 6. Anybody else? Well, they are. I think a lot of people have not been able to connect for some reason, because I'm getting messages, WhatsApp messages from a lot of people. I don't know what they're asking. Oh, thank you, Meeta. Thank you so much. Oh, you're watching him. So why were you keeping quiet? No questions? Anybody else who is hiding and not telling me? Oh yeah, I did not address that, Bidushi. I'm sorry, I should have. Out of the 26 stories, more than 20 of them are real life stories. I did my master's in psychology, and while in the department reading case histories and stuff like that, and I was also very observant. What also helped me was the fact that I am a healer, so I met a lot of people coming to me for healing sessions. What also helped me, because a lot of people would come to me for tarot sessions, and I do tarot also as well. And for some reason, I think people find me approachable. So 20 of them are real life stories. The rest 6 are clips from newspapers or magazines that I have read. Now, when you read a small clip of news which says, let's say, let's take the example of this Mumbai attack. What was the guy's name? Kasab, who was eventually hanged. My last story, Zayan, is of Kasab, actually, the last 1 hour of Kasab's life. And I had to get into a head of a person who was about to be hanged to death. And I know where he came from. I know a lot of people who have come from that region. I have interacted with them. Actually, 2 of them even work for me in my office. And I could somehow, in my own head, create that story. Whether he did, of course, what he did was wrong. I am not debating that part of it. I just dealt with that 1 last hour of his life. What could have been going through his head, and I've translated it. So somewhere, they're all 20 of them are true stories, like I said, and the rest 6 are out of clipping. There's a story of Thamaya, who has this dementia. Now, I read a small article and a small ad where somebody said that my father is missing, last seen at this station. He has dementia, and if anybody finds him, this is what he looks like. And the whole story translated into my book, Vidushi, you have read it, so you will be able to connect. Thamaya is where he gets off a station, his family is sleeping, and the train moves out. And he doesn't remember who he is, he does not know, he doesn't remember anything. So that cold 4-line article or advertisement became a huge story for me. Hi, Chewy. You. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your wishes. I really need them, and hopefully the next one I should be able to finish before my writer's block start again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hearing me out. If there are any more questions, I will just wait for another minute and then I'm going to sign off. And thank you really everybody for whoever came over here. It feels nice to have some people watching you, some people listening to you. This session was not about promoting my book, but more about the fact that you have to delve deep into the emotions. And hi Tushar, as usual you're late. You have to get into the emotion of the character. Hi Shobha, waving back to both of you. And you have to get into the emotions of the characters. If you leave a single character out without the depth of emotion, it will be all gone. Thank you Shobha, thank you Tushar, thank you Chui, thank you Bidushi. Hi Shobha. If you have missed it out, doesn't matter, you can always see it. It will be on my FB page also later on, I think. Aniket will be able to tell us. So I think my time is up. Aniket, can you send me a message if my time is up? I'm not too sure, I'm not carrying a watch. Okay. So on that happy note, I think I'll say bye. Thank you everybody for coming in. It's so nice to see 12 people watching this video or being present over here. Thank you all of you. Namaste. Khuda Hafiz. Sat Sri Akal.